when it comes to Ali Khamenei's funeral that everybody's talking about is whether or not his son will show up. That is what everybody is going to be looking for. And everybody is one, like in Iran, that is the main conversation. That will Mojtaba show up for his father's funeral on July 4th? If he doesn't, then so many people are going to say he's dead. There are five, I think there's 4 or 5 reactions that I went over on the Persian show earlier today. If you want me, I could list them off. That from the pro-regime people, they're going to have 5 different reactions to Mujtaba not showing up. If he does show up, that's even a bigger deal. But if he doesn't, it's going to be very significant. I played a video earlier today on the Persian channel that we have, which with an audience that is mostly inside Iran, that some mullahs were coming out and saying that we shouldn't be showing Mujtaba until we get revenge for the killing of his father. Like saying like, oh, it's like it does. I don't know how he's connecting these two together, but he's saying like Mujtaba should stay in hiding until we get full revenge for Ali Khamenei, like meaning after we kill like Trump or something like that. So I don't know how is that even related, but to me that seems like they're preparing people's minds for Mujtaba maybe not showing up. That might be what's happening. We'll see. But again, the reactions to if Mujtaba doesn't show up, some people will come up with a coping strategy, and I have the perfect Shia narrative that I basically gave it to them as a cheat code for the Shias who are watching me. I gave them their cope. I don't know if you want, like, I think it would be too nuanced here for you guys. If you want me, let me know if you want me to tell you what cope strategy I offer to them. But other than cope, a lot of them are going to be like, okay, he's dead and the regime is lying to us. That's going to be another reaction. Another reaction is going to be he's been kidnapped, and the regime has him in a cage somewhere, and we have to go save the supreme leader. Ghalibaf has locked up our supreme leader, and we need to do an uprising to save our supreme leader. That's another reaction that could be there. Another reaction is like, we don't know where our supreme leader is, but the regime is not being honest to us. Why aren't they being transparent to us? Why are they not explaining to us why can't they at least release an audio message from him? So a lot of people are going to be confused. That's another reaction. Another reaction, which will be the best one in my opinion, is many pro-regime people are going to be like, fuck the supreme leader. Ali Khamenei was the supreme leader. Mujtaba should have never become the supreme leader. He's not worthy of being a supreme leader. If Ghalibaf and Pezeshkian are forcing this on him to be silent or to not come out and actually be transparent with us, that shows that he's not strong, that he's not brave, that he's a weak supreme leader, that he wasn't chosen to be a supreme leader based on merits. He was chosen to be a supreme leader based only because he's his father's son. Those are the 4 reactions, and all of them is good because all of them means that the religious Durka jihadi Iranians are turning against the regime. Guys, I could promise, here's one thing that I've seen. There's almost nobody supports the regime anymore. The so-called pro-regime people, they would be supporting the ideals of the 1979 Islamic Revolution. The current regime, as it is right now, is supported by almost no one anymore. No one, like very few people. The anti-regime people are obviously anti-regime, but the so-called pro-regime people, they think that Ghalibaf has either done a coup or maybe this new supreme leader is shit. But I would say, I don't think this is an exaggeration to say the current support for the Islamic Republic is under 1%. Under 1%. But anyways, did I answer your question, Noah?
Perfectly, as always. Thank you.
No, thank you.
All right. Next to respond on this topic, we have me. Now, I was gonna talk about not just like the division that could come from this, but the actual security necessary to deal with the remains, because I think you and I saw the container, the shipping container ziggurat that they had to build to protect the remains of the first one, and how crazy that went. and we don't know if he's going to do like a Mustafa's going to do a Zoom meeting or something. But security just around, like, we don't know how much these people are going to fight over the Tupperware container that has the remains inside that casket, and there is also probably security concerns to be had with that. So I would invite everyone to see that live stream where we showed it. I don't know if you can show it, but it was absolute insanity. The first funeral was insane. It was crazy. These people went crazy, and there is so much infighting in the streets within the Paidaris, within the streets and the suits more supporting of the Paidari or whatever they are. These fights that they're having, I don't know how that's going to play out in the streets. I don't know if they're going to be fist fights. I don't know if they're going to be fighting over that Tupperware container. They're going to have to fly. It's easier to fly because it's a lot lighter, I think. Not a lot remaining. They probably scooped it up with a vacuum or something. But whatever does remain, the people may fight over it. Like last time they had to do it with a helicopter, right?
Yep.
So they pulled down the helicopter.
What Monkey is referring to is that when the first Supreme Leader died, what year was that, guys? When the first Supreme Leader died, there was a mass. There was a funeral with millions of people that showed up, and at some point they got to the what is it, casket, am I saying it correctly, casket, and they broke it apart and they got his body out, and the helicopter came down to save the body of Ruhollah Khomeini. Yes, 1989, thank you, Neil Bunny. 1989, and it was insane. Okay, so but here's the thing, I don't think Ali Khamenei has that much loyal support that uh Ruhollah Khomeini had. Still, I do think there's going to be large crowds. The Islamic Republic is very much investing so much to make sure large crowds show up. There's a lot because the Islamic Republic is motivated to show that the funeral. So here's the problem: the Islamic Republic, if they're not going to show Mujtaba, they have to say it was for security concerns. But they, at the same time, they don't want to say that it's going to be unsafe to have the funerals because then people won't show up. So, and the Islamic Republic is very right now, because it's dealing with a crisis of legitimacy. The Islamic Republic deals with crisis of illegitimacy with large crowds. So large crowds showing up for Qasem Soleimani, large crowds showing up for the 22 Bahman annual ceremony for the victory of the Islamic Republic, is always the Islamic Republic's way of showing that the people love me and I have legitimacy. So right now, which is when it comes to the legitimacy of the Islamic Republic, has never been as low as it is right now. So it's very, very desperate to make sure large crowds show up. And once large crowds do show up, there's going to be so many pro-regime people that are going to try to bank on it by I think a lot of bots. A lot of the Islamic Republic is going to spend a lot of money on people showing up on social media, sharing pictures, saying, "See, the whole world is saying that nobody loves us, but look at the crowds that are showing up." By the way, it's not really difficult to show big crowds. Remember, guys, it takes only a few thousand people in a few streets to show very impressive large crowds, right? So you could, if you have 2 or 3 streets with 10,000 people pushed together, that looks very impressive on cameras, and then people come out and say it's millions, but 10,000 people in a small area in the streets looks like a really big crowd. So it's not actually very difficult to create videos that looks impressive, especially given that they will be handing out money, they will be handing out cooking oil, rice, free insurance. They publicly announced that they're going to be giving free insurance to people. There's going to be a lot of motivation many government workers, which is a lot of them, it's going to be mandatory for them to show up. there's a lot of soldiers from the IRGC that are going to be told that they need to show up, but they're going to be wearing plain clothes instead of military clothes just to fill in the streets. So there are ways to fill in the streets.
Yeah. I believe they also faked some of the videos that were earlier videos and put it out there as if it was recent videos. And some of those reports that we saw, I think it was earlier this year, for some celebrations, or at the end last year. So yeah, I would expect them to do all kinds of trickery to make the crowd appear larger. And with that, we're closing out this subject and reading out some super chats. Do we have any super chats?
Yes, we have 5. Thank you so much, guys. Jahangir with another super chat saying, "Are we witnessing what happened to Iran in 1979 in USA?" By the way, oh my, I hope not. Um, well, I mean, I hope not. I think USA is a lot farther behind than European countries when it comes to Islamization. Um, the what I think what's happening to Europe is not a full theocratic Islamization like what happened in Iran, but we do have a more gradual Islamic growth in the politics. So what people need to understand is, for example, in the UK, with 6% of the population being Muslim, that 6% behaves like it's 20% by being more politically active and by acting like a voting, like a very, very organized, united voting bloc. And then they use their influence in politics to change so for example, we saw Keir Starmer was much more worried about his Muslim voting base than their relationship with the world superpower United States when it came to responding to the Islamic Republic after the Operation Epic Fury started and the issues in the Strait of Hormuz. So you can see how significant of an influence only 6% can make. So United States is further behind than a country like United Kingdom, but a lot of the percentage of the Muslims is lower. But based on what you're saying in the UK, how significant of an influence only 6% makes on your politics, people need to realize that you don't have to get to a Muslim majority population for your politics to be significantly influenced by Islam. Only 6 or 7% would do the job. So people need to understand that 6 or 7% will be devastating to the values and the fundamentals of what makes your country a superpower and a great country. And this is why we have to be very worried about the left, because the left is very much motivated to open the borders, to bring in the people that will vote for the parties that open the borders. And by doing so, they're basically allowing in people with the most garbage of ideas and garbage of values that basically erodes the very fundamentals that made United States a great country. So I would say that what's happening in the United States and in Europe is a more gradual version of what happened in Iran in 1979. However, because of the Iranian people's experience with what happens when the left and Islam work with each other, I think the Iranian people are the perfect people to warn the West, North America, and Europe regarding the consequences of this. I think the Iranian people are in a great position to fight against this leftist Islamic takeover, and I think they should be used as a warning sign. And all the people, all the patriots in European countries and North American countries should use their Iranian citizens and collaborate and work with them as a way to stand against losing their countries. And thank you for the super chat. BT June with the super chat saying, which is higher, their coping or Durka level? Well, the higher the Durka level, actually, that's a good point. So it depends on the type of Durka. So if you are if you're very, very Durka, then you don't want to cope now these days, because here's the thing: it's hard to cope when you don't have Ali Khamenei to come and tell you everything is going to be okay. So Ali Khamenei used to be the leader who could pull back these people when they were getting too demanding. But Ali Khamenei is not there. So now the higher the higher Durka level you are, the less you're interested in coping, and more interested in calling it as it is and basically admitting that we're losing, which is, guys, this is very interesting. We're now in a situation where the most realistic people are the most radical people within the Islamic Republic. The less radical you are, the less you are willing to admit that this is a defeat. But the more Islamic jihadi radical you are, the more you're willing to say, come out and say, fuck this shit, we're losing everything. This is not Islam. This is not the ideals of the Islamic Republic. So we're in a weird situation that the objective, realist people within the Islamic Republic are the most jihadi minded ones these days. And they have actually the most correct takes of what's actually happening. Weird situation. And then we have Noah with the super chat, the Persian American. Thank you so much, Noah, saying, I forgot to add, I also believe if Cardboard Man doesn't show up, the regime will be even weaker due to his absence. He'll be seen as a coward. Yeah, he will be seen either as a coward or dead or in a cage. And each one of these is bad for the people who, for the standing of the regime, and people would lose faith in the regimes as more significantly than it is right now. So you're right. If he doesn't show up, it would be really bad for the regime standing. BT June with a super chat saying Khamenei passed. Huh? Oh, Khamenei passed in my birth year. Oh my god. And Muhammad on my birthday. What the hell? Coincidence? Allah never deals in coincidence. Okay. Guys, save BT. BT June is becoming Muslim. Guys, you're going into deep, BT. Okay, thank you, BT June. Amir with the super chat saying, can you tell me what losing their legitimacy will do? They still could hold authority with weapons. Yeah, but the people who hold those weapons will not have faith in the regime, and they will not be loyal to the regime. It's really difficult for a tyranny to. So here, dictators can use force to rule over people with only 5% or even 3% support. But it's really difficult for a dictatorship to stay in power with less than 1% support. Like, it's not sustainable to have less than 1% support. Even dictators need a level of support to be able to manage things. At some point, if you have less than 1% support, you're going to lose your grip over, you're going to lose control. Yeah, you can't just keep shooting everybody. And thank you, Amir, for the super chat. Sherry gave us a super sticker. Thank you so much, Sherry. Always supporting us. Very sweet.
My name is Armin Navabi. I'm an Iranian political analyst with decades of experience fighting the Islamic regime inside and outside of Iran. Make sure you follow me for more, and also make sure you join our discussion group. I'm there almost every single day. Come talk to me there and the rest of the people there in our group calls. It's a great place to meet and talk to people who like talking about politics. The link is in the description and or in the bio. You could also get there by scanning the QR code on the screen. See you there.